It's a snowy day in Altenberg in Saxony as we rejoin our BMW IBSF action for the second part of the season. Hello everybody, I'm Martin Haven. Welcome to the second and deciding run of the women's skeleton third World Cup race of the year. This Altenberg track is always a tough driver's track, and with the snow coming in the middle of the heats, those who went early had a distinct advantage. They included Russia's Yulia Kanakina, lying in third place after the first of our runs. She's 6/10 off the lead, which in any normal race would be an insurmountable gap and would hardly see her in the top three. The top two, though, feature the winner from the last two seasons, Jacqueline Lurling, who also won last time out in Winterberg just before the Christmas-New Year break. And the German ace is only 0.15 of a second off the lead. As you can see from the pictures, the snow was just starting for her. Just before she'd gone down, Elena Nikitina, the start record holder, laid down a blazing run. The Sochi Olympic bronze medalist has regained the form of 5 years ago. She won her first race ever in the World Cup in Sigulda at the beginning of the season, and she now leads her third World Cup race this year. Jacqueline Lurling in second place, has won for the last 2 years. And Yulia Kanakina, well, she's probably under threat from Sophia Griebel and Tina Hermann of Germany, and last year's bronze medalist Janine Flock and Marina Gilardoni, if the weather doesn't change too much. Well, 20 sleds started and completed the first heat, and they will go down in reverse order, last to fast. All the orange T-shirts, by the way, are here in preparation for this afternoon's men's race, looking for their local hero from Dresden, Axel Jung, to fare well. And there is our race leader, Elena Nikitina, Tina Hermann there, and Sophia Griebel under the watchful eye of Dirk Matchens in the background, the head coach of Germany. Rita Varce there in the hat, bobble hat, her daughter Elizabeth Varce, now Meyer, got married to Benny Meyer just after the Olympics. There's our bronze medalist from 2 years ago, Janine Flock. Last year was the second German clean sweep of the podium in a decade. Previously, Kirsten Simkowiak, Marion Trott and Anja Huber, all now long retired, swept the podium in the 2009-10 season. Only once have Russian sliders claimed medals here in the last decade. That was 2014-15. Maria Orlova won what was then and remains her only World Cup race. And Elena Nikitina was the bronze medalist. Well, Valentina Margallo, with the second fastest start in the field, goes off first, followed by Jane Channel, Kimberly Murray, Jacqueline Narracott and the rest as we go 20th down to first. Nikitina will go last and try and defend her lead against Jacqueline Lurling. Down at the bottom of the picture, you can see one of our forerunners coming in what are relatively clear conditions. On your pictures and out of my window, no flakes of snow in the air. There were 10 minutes ago when I walked into the commentary position, but right now the air is clear for our first slider. The official in the background wearing the clothing already for 2020's World Championships for bobsleigh and skeleton, which will be held here in Altenberg, Germany, as we get ready for the start of the second heat of the women's skeleton. Italy's Valentina Margallo, making only her second ever World Cup start as a skeleton slider. She did a few World Cup races as a bobsleigh brakewoman. Her debut was at Winterberg just before Christmas. Now her second ever World Cup start. And she has what every coach wants in a young slider. Great hair. I mean, a fantastic start. She also has great hair. She has a fantastic start. Now all she's got to do is learn how to control it. So waiting for the start light to change from red to green. You're not allowed to break a red beam, and you must go within the 30 seconds shown on the clock. Now, it's not when you leave the block, it's when you cross the start beam, which is a yellow line just halfway to the brow. Away she goes. First start was 5:45. She came closest. Ooh, little slip as she got onto the sled. Came closest to our race leader, but 5:67. I think that was that final power step just slipped away from under her. So she had the second fastest start and then drifted away all the way down the track to 20th place. Still only in her second season, or beginning her third second of ice sliding as a driver. And only her second ever World Cup race. So really at the foothills. This is her second World Cup race, the most experienced slider in the field. Will start her second run in her 70th race today. That's Janine Flock. Margallo, 102.5 kilometres now, 63.5 miles an hour. Drifts over between 14 and here corner 15, then into corner 16 and the final left-hand curve 17, 60.73. Well, that's quicker than her first run. Much less snow on the track than when she went last of all. So she ran a 61.16, tidied that up to a 60.7. So 0.4 of a second better. A little bit more experience on the track. She's had 4 races here before at the junior level in her 2 previous seasons of sliding. Not a bad drift there, but again finds the snow at the edges of the track. So Valentina Margallo for Italy is our race leader. Jane Channell of Canada next up. 30-year-old from North Vancouver, 6th in last year's race, 19th in the first heat in the snow, and again looked like just a little stumble as she got onto the sled. 5:66 compared to a 5:54 first start. So again, I think she did slip going onto the sled. She's in the lead over Margallo. She had a 3300ths first heat advantage. Outstarted the Italian by 100th. Gap's now grown to 3900ths. In front of her, only 800ths ahead was Kimberly Murray of Great Britain. So that will be her immediate target, to try and pick off as many in front of her as she can. Got a bad run through the Kreisel, but a very late exit and really in trouble through 14. Over the brow, past the commentary positions, and dropping down steeply now through the final corner before climbing up through the finish curve. And at the line, 60.99, so it's goodbye from the leader, Valentina Margallo. Valentina's second run was faster than Jane's. Jane had a 3300ths advantage, and that ebbed away to just 700ths of a second. So rather than pick anybody off, here, big height early on, and this ride up the wall, that's as near to a crash as you're going to get there. And again here, it's a really short, sharp transition, legs akimbo. It was a bit of a horrible ride, I'm afraid, for Jane Channell all the way down. So she's not moving up, I don't think, unless others make bigger mistakes. Well, conditions on the ice very different from the first heat with lots of snow. Always hard to try and predict how the track is going to change. That's all part of the challenge for the athletes. There's the Axel Jung fan club in the orange t-shirts, 120 of them coming down from Dresden. Looks like about half of them are there, the other half at the Glühwein stand. Kim Murray from Great Britain, third off in the first heat, the 30-year-old, third off in the second heat. This is her third ever World Cup race. Raced here 2 years ago in the Europa Cup. She finished in 3rd place and 4th place. And she did Intercontinental Cup here last year as well. So her third race weekend here in Altenberg, the girl from Newport in the Isle of Wight. About as un-winter sport an area of the UK as it's possible to get. So a 5.73 getaway compared to 5.75. Looked like she made a bit of a better load. Now she clipped the wall here in her first heat and just skates by it in the second. So that's a positive improvement into corner 4, the big omega turn. 4 to 5 is a really tough transition. Looking neat and tidy so far. With relatively little experience on the track. Both she and Maddie Smith, I think, went for control rather than outright pace. Drops way down below the wall on the first pressure, steering all the way through the Kreisel, and all those steers take away speed. A 10th up now. She was 1600s ahead of Jane Channel. After the first heat, she was 800s up, but look at that. Shot away to 4600s. That's the big difference, and that's where Jane Channel gave away all that time with those big mistakes below the Kreisel. Well, a 60.3, that's 45 hundredths better than her first run for Kim Murray. A positive learning run from her. That looked much neater and tidier. And a decent exit 4 to 5, not too floppy. And it was lower down as she got into the 13-14 changeover, where she tidied things up and Jane Channel didn't. Long skid here, though, down the straight to the Kreisel. And lots of steering in the Kreisel. Kimberly Murray of Great Britain, the race leader, 3 down, 17 to go. Landmark weekend for Jackie Narracott of Australia, the girl from Brisbane in Queensland. Her 30th ever World Cup race in skeleton. Started as a bobsleigh brakewoman as well, so 5.84 getaway compared to 5.83 in the first heat. Now that drops her immediately behind Kim Murray, who outstarted her by 11 hundredths. Big steering in 4 to get the exit clean in 5. That's what she did in the first run as well. 5 hundredths back. This is going to be very tight. She was only 7 hundredths ahead. I beg your pardon, she was 8 hundredths ahead of Kim Murray in the first heat. 4 hundredths back as she gets through the Kreisel. Big first pressure. There's the second. There's the third. Good exit and a nice straight. Now that puts her into the lead and gives her speed. Nice looking run down through corner 11 and 12. Good exit out of 14. Nice bottom part of the track. She's searing away now from Kim Murray. Great bottom part for Jackie Narracott. 32 hundredths the advantage. A 60.10, that's over half a second quicker than her first run, which was a 60.63. Yes, less snow, but importantly, below the Kreisel, many fewer mistakes. Much nicer slide from Jackie. Big first pressure, second pressure, there's the third, but look at that. Good exit, no skid, doesn't hit the wall, there's no snow to run into. Nice looking run from the Aussie. Australia's Jacqueline Narracott leads the race. 4 sleds down in our field of 20 from 11 nations. To say hi to Don Parsons, who I'm sure is watching. Next up, one of his teammates, Maddie Smith from Great Britain. Maddie, another very inexperienced slider, 23-year-old, has never raced here before this weekend. 5.74 getaway, 5.69 in the first heat. The first heat looked neat and tidy. I'm sure that she set the sled up to have good control. Decent run through 4, but you could hear the dragging of the toes as she was steering. Still clattered the wall in 5. 1300s up on Jackie Narracott, but the gap has gone. She lost speed in 4 and 5. Skidding down the straight. She may have gone for a little bit more speed. You can't change the runners, but you can change the setup and make them a little more aggressive. A little smaller contact patch gives you less friction, so more speed, but less control. Taps 14 to 15. Speed 1.5 miles an hour down on Narracott, and she slips 3 spots. So down to 3rd place. And the time, 60.86, and in fact that was 0.3 slower than her first heat. So if she had made adjustments to the sled, it didn't help her. So out of 4, clumps the wall into 5. She'd already been steering hard in 4, and look at that. All of that energy going out of the sled there, effectively standing on the brakes. So plenty to work on for Maddie Smith. You can hear Ron Ringuth, the track announcer, chatting away to our race leader, Jackie Narracott. It's Jackie Narracott, Kim Murray and Maddie Smith. 5 down, 15 to go here in Altenberg. Canada's Mimi Reneva in 15th place after the first of 2 heats in Altenberg, Germany. Race 3 of the Women's Skeleton World Cup. There's your current leader, Jackie Narracott, who has overhauled Maddie Smith, you just saw there, who dropped a couple of spots on her second run. Good second run from Jackie Narracott, and that puts a challenge down for Mimi Reneva. Mimi was 1400s ahead in the first heat. Born in Bulgaria, moved to Canada when she was young, and so her helmet art reflects all of her heritage. And a little nod to her late mother as well, and amongst the fabulous design on the helmet. Let's see what she's got to start. First time 5.50, second start is a 5.52, and it looked like a comfortable load. Quietly out of corner 1, out of corner 2, there's Ralph the Ice Meister in his red hat. The man who prepares, or he and his team prepare such superb ice here. Out of 4, good exit into 5, little skid, she steered quite hard into 5, I think. 6,200s up on Jackie Narracott. This is a really good-looking run already from Mimi Reneva. Big knee steer to straighten it up. Onto the run, down to the Kreisel, out of Tudai. Good Kreisel, nice and even. Good exit here. This is looking good. Again, using the knees to steer quite hard, but getting the steers in. Little skid over the brow, 14 into 15, top speed, barring Jackie Narracott. Gaps back down to 3/10, down to 1,700 to the line, and that's how good Jackie Narracott's final part of the track was. That was a 60.07 for Mimi Reneva. Jackie Narracott ran a 60.10, so Mimi only 300s faster. And the total aggregate between them, 1,700s over the 2 runs. Just fringing into the snow there. Big height in corner 9. Dives off right in the middle of the track. Maybe a little bit too early on the steer. But Mimi Reneva leads for Canada. Kim Marmons of Belgium next up. Marmons just 22 years old, 1 World Cup start this season. She was 13th in Winterberg, missed Sigulda. 12th here last year. This is her full 4th World Cup race on the track. 5.73 getaway compared to 5.76 in the first heat. A little bit of snow blowing in, still very light and dusting. But this is the way it started in the second heat. Kim in the red, behind Mimi Reneva. Mimi started 0.2 of a second quicker. There was only 500s between them in the first heat. And that 1,500s deficit is now shrinking down to 1,300s. Huge first and second waves. Can she nail the exit of the Kreisel? Not really, not too bad. Out of corner 14, over the brow. Down into 15, 110.9, good speed, second only to Jackie Narracott, and she's got the lead away from Mimi Reneva, and at the line, 1,900s up, the first sub-60-second run of the second heat, 59.93, much better looking run from Kim Marmons, and over half a second quicker than her first heat. 60.44 down to a 59.93. And how many more sliders are going to be snow-free? I don't think the snow is going to arrive quickly enough to really vault Marmons a long way up the order. Sled didn't break into a skid there. She didn't have to drag the toe. We can see the snow blowing in. So little Belgian leads. Next up, two North American sliders. First of all, the USA's Kendall Westenberg, then her teammate Savannah Grable waits in the wings. Kendall from Modesto, California, 13th after the first heat. With 2,500s and change in hand over current leader Kim Malmans from that first run. Second start is a 5.81, 100th of a second quicker than her first. Quietly out of corner one. More snow starting to drift down from the heavens now. Out of 4 into 5. Decent looking run so far. 1900ths of a second, the gap now down to 1400ths though. So she's steering a little too much early on. Here we go, the run down to the Kreisel. Gets herself over to sliders left. Good first take on the pressure. Big second pressure, little correction for the exit. Hits the wall nonetheless. Down through 11 and 12. Then the big 13, 14 swap over. Good exit from 14, straight over the brow, keeps the speed on board, building her lead. 111.4, fastest of all, 69.2 miles an hour, and she takes the lead by nearly 0.4 of a second. 59.81 compared to a 60.17. So she doubles her advantage over Kim Malmans of Belgium. Kendall Westenberg has the lead of the race for the USA. Well, Kendall, her 3 previous World Cups, 18th, 14th, and a disastrous 23rd last year in the snow. This year, she'll be no worse than 13th, so she will record her best Altenberg race result. Late exit there, that cost her a couple of spots. Tuffy Latour, the coach, with the sled. There's the VIP area above the finish line. And on the start, Savannah Grable of the USA. Savannah Grable, second out in the first heat, had a nice snow-free track. 30-year-old finished in 21st spot here last year, did not make the cut for the second heat. She's had a couple of World Cup races as well as a couple of Europa Cup races, but still building her experience. 14th in Sigulda, 19th last time out in Winterberg. Start 5.90 in the first heat. Led her teammate, Kendall Westenberg, by 200ths of a second. So to all intents and purposes, a dead heat. 5.88 finds another 200ths over her first start. But look at the snow now, really starting to blow in. So this might be the last half clean run we get. With every further couple of minutes, there will be more snow in the track. And that could well close up the later runners. Don't forget, the leader after the first heat goes last. Same as alpine skiing, same as ski jumping. Now you can really see the snow. She'll be feeling it as well. The runners getting stuck and slowing down in the snow. She's in the red to Kendall Westenberg. There was only 200s between them. Gap's gone from 5 to 12, down to 9, out to 17. Look at the snow flurries there, 108.7, not great speed. Gaps out to a quarter of a second. So Kendall Westenberg will hold the lead. Savannah Grable drops back a couple of spots. A 60.39, that was actually slower than her first heat. But then she was second out of the start shed, so she had a clear track, and look at it now. Well, the snow is blowing in like it did in the first heat after the first half dozen sliders. So, tough break for Savannah Grable. Not sure it was all down to the snow, but it doesn't help. Well, there you see, taking a big hit on the wall out of the final corner. And rubbing off all that speed makes it much harder to come up to the finish area. I'll compare this to 5 minutes ago, snow really falling hard. 10th place after the first of our 2 heats from the Netherlands, Kimberly Bos. 25-year-old has got a bet on with her coach Phil Searle. Kimberly doesn't like coffee. Well, she doesn't like it because she's never had it. But if she finishes outside of the top 10 in any race this year, apparently she's going to start drinking coffee, at least once. And this might just be that. 5:67 start compared to 5:66 in the first heat. Little Rocky 4 to 5. 1600s up, down from a quarter of a second over Kendall Wessenberg. And she's yet to get to the really snowy bits of the track. Here's the first straight. See her leaving tracks in the snow. Drops down low in the Kreisel. And a big skid on the exit. 1200s back. She's losing her grip on a top 10 spot. Kendall Wessenberg is going to move up here, 4/10ths back. It's all coming rapidly unravelled. See her shoulder off the sled there. She's really wrestling the sled in the final couple of corners. And Kimberly Boss, a 60.70. So Kendall Wessenberg of the USA moves up. Well, Kendall had a clear second heat, but she had a snowy first run, same as Kimberly. Well, Kimberly was just at the beginning of the snow. There's Phil Searle going to help her with the sled. Looks like she'll be drinking coffee this evening. Long skid there, see the toe out to try and straighten it up. Same as you do on your toboggan at home. Shoulder up there, she was really wrestling the sled. So Kimberly Boss drops down the order. Only 6th at the moment. We still have 9 to go. Snow falling here in Altenberg, Germany. Kendall Wessenberg, the leader, from Kim Meilmans and Savannah Graybill. We've had 10 down and 10 to go.
Hey, everybody.
Well, what are you going to do? There is no 2-minute commercial hold because of the snow. So next up, Elizabeth Meyer was Elizabeth Arche last season and before. Married husband Benny Meyer in the spring in Hawaii. 5:61 getaway for Liz. Her first run was a 5:77 start. That's much more like the Arche that we know at the start. Now, can she push herself up the order? Huge skid and steer in corner 4. Massive slide. Just missed the pressure there and the sled broke away dramatically. She was 3700ths up at the start. Will it be even in single figures? Yes, 1/10 of a second up now. So she's given away a quarter of a second of her advantage over Kendall Wessenberg. Trying to keep it down the middle of the track where less snow lies. 800ths back. This could still be very close at the line. I think Kendall's got it. Not enough speed on board. 110.5. Half a kilometre an hour down, half a mile an hour down on Kendall Wessenberg. And Elizabeth Arche slips a spot. 60.25. That's a quarter second slower than her first heat. She was 4th out in the first run. No snow at that stage. But we'll see the replay in Omega, corner 4, I'm sure. So off a much quicker start, down into Omega. Watch here. Look at the way the sled just skids all the way through there. Lots of style marks for drifting, but it just robs you of speed. And when you give it away that early, it's hard to find it further down the track. Well, Mum Rita, Dad Jeff are both here this weekend, so she won't be without a lot of sport. There's her dad waving the Canadian flag and wearing the Austrian jacket, because he left his ski jacket in the luggage trolley in the airport. Doofus. First of 3 Russian athletes in the field. 9th place for Renata Kutsina. Renata just 24 years old. This is only her 16th World Cup race as a skeleton slider. She's had 1 previous World Cup race here. Last year she finished 24th, didn't make the field in the second heat. But she has raced here twice in Europa Cup and claimed 3 podium finishes out of 4 starts. So she's not unaccustomed to this track. Now, with the snow flurries blowing in, can Renata Kutsina take the lead away from Kendall Westenberg of the USA. With every subsequent slider, the gaps get bigger. She was 22 hundredths up on Westenberg from the first heat, and the margin now was 26 hundredths at the start. She started a fraction faster, but it's down to 18 hundredths. So she's losing speed to Kendall Westenberg. Little skid onto the straight, avoids most of the snow. Let's look at her Kreisel. There's the second pressure, the third is late. She steers it off. The gap's 500s, 105.1 kilometres an hour, slower than Kendall Westenberg and Savannah Grable, her teammate. 400's going to be really close at the line. Westenberg had better speed than 110.9. Kendall Westenberg is going to lead at the line, yes, but only by 500ths of a second. He found a friend. Savannah Grable is there as well. 60.10 for Renate Kutziner, and that is 800ths of a second slower than her first heat. Not enough to keep her in 9th place. Well, there is the Kreisel. Look for the red flag at the end there. Originally a red rag tied up there by Harold Chudai as an aide-memoire to help him steer off, and it's been used by every slider ever since. Still a big smile from Renata. She lies in second with 8 to go, so no worse than a top 10 finish. Third and final of our British sliders for today's women's skeleton race is Laura Dees. She was the winner here in the 2015-16 race, ahead of Tina Hermann and Jacqueline Lurling, who have both yet to come. Well, a really good start, really good top half of the track for Laura Dees, and then it all drifted away down at the bottom. If she can tidy up below the Kreisel, she's got a chance to move up. 5:59. She started 14th in the first heat in the snow, so she was definitely a disadvantage to the earlier slides. Again, little skid in 4, rattles 5. 68 hundredths up. Big advantage over Kendall Westenberg, and she's holding it from the start. Now it's from here on down that it drifted away in the first heat. She's already lost a tenth of that advantage. 107.1 is 66.5 miles an hour. Westenberg had 67.5. Another tenth has gone. 64.5 compared to 65.7 miles an hour for Westenberg. The gap's down to 3 tenths. Surely enough to hang on at the line and guarantee a top 8 finish. It's not going to be by much, but it's by enough. Wow, 60.18. 4,700 slower than her first heat. Laura Dees has the lead, guarantees herself at least a top 8 finish. 7th in Winterberg. She'll be no worse than 8th here. Those are her 2 World Cup starts this year. Look at that toe. Now, she drags the sled away, but then she has to counter steer again, so the first steer was not needed. Skid as she goes light from 14 to 15 over the brow. Laura Dees the leader with 7 sleds to go and more snow coming down. First of our starters in this race in the first heat was Marina Gilardoni, the 31-year-old former bobsled brakewoman. She had 12 World Cup races as a bobsledder. This is now her 54th as a skeleton athlete. Lots of experience, few injuries along the way as well, though, for Marina. 5:76, not where she would wish to be starting. And look at the snow now, coming straight down, heavy and thick. 1700s up on Laura Dees of Great Britain. She had 3 tenths in hand from the first heat. That's down to 17 at the start, but up to 1900s now. Like Laura, she counter steers twice down the straight into the Kreisel. Let's take a look at the exit here. This is vital for speed down the hill, not too bad. 3700s up. 65.8, top speed so far from Marina Gilardoni. Now Gilardoni is looking in front of her at Janine Flock to try and move up the order. Big steer down into 15. And at 16 across the line, 59.89, takes the lead away from Laura Dees. But that is half a second slower than her first heat. And that may well be largely down to the snow. She didn't run in the snow in the first heat, so she's guessing how to deal with it as she hits it in the second. Those who ran in the snow were a bit slower, but they did have knowledge of how it affects and where it lies. What you hear on the straight, shifting the hips, trying to keep the toes off the ice. Shift the hips and you straighten the runners a little bit, just like when you're riding on a toboggan back home. In the Kreisel. Doesn't quite disappear on the first pressure, keeps the second pressure low. It's all about this exit. That's 14 into 15. Not a bad run from Marina Gilardoni. The Swiss Miss leads here from Laura Dees and Kendall Westenberg. 6 sleds to go in Altenberg in a snowy women's skeleton race. The snow coming and going, a little less heavy now. And there is, what, an ibex on the sled of Janine Flock. Boyfriend Matthias Guggenberger now coaching. Janine, the bronze medalist here 2 seasons ago. The only Austrian medal on this track in women's skeleton in more than a decade. And this is a landmark for Janine, her 70th World Cup start in women's skeleton. Huge experience here, the most experienced slider in the field. So if she can't deal with this weather, then no one can. 5.76 getaway, quicker than her 5.80 in the first heat. So she's 400s ahead of Marina Gilardoni. Remains in front by her first heat advantage. Nice run from 4 to 5. Good corner 4 as well. Great style from Janine always. Arrow straight body, as aerodynamic as possible, steering as much with the head as the shoulders. No toe drags down the straight. The gap from 400s is now 2200s. Let's take a look. Exit Kreisel. Little late, got hung up on the exit. 1:05.9. Joint fastest speed with Gilardoni. The lead stays at 3/10 and grows a fraction. Clean from Janine Flock, down at the bottom of the track. This is where her height and her mass really help her. Flies across the line, 59.51. Only 2/10 slower than her first heat. In fact, only 1800 slower than her first heat. And that is the fastest run of the second heat so far by 0.3 of a second. Now this is Janine Flock shooting for the medals. It was very close from 3rd down to 8th. Janine Flock has given herself a great chance of a bronze medal here for the 2nd time in 3 years. Tina Hermann of Germany, bronze medalist on this track in the last 3 World Cup outings, lies in 5th place, 1100ths off bronze. Started 5.79 in the first heat. Even 100th now will help her. Tina came off the hill in 10th place and was in the snow definitely on her first heat. Now, there is no snow falling right now, so conditions may be improving, but she had a bit of a skid pulling on to corner 4. Tina Hermann does not start well, but boy, does she know how to finish well. World Cup champion 3 seasons ago, 2015-16. Laura Dees won here, but she's in the red behind Janine Flock by a couple of hundreds. 300s, 107.2 kilometres an hour. Fastest we've seen. She's back in the lead. This is Tina Hermann doing what she does so well in Altenberg. 70.6 miles an hour. Fastest of all. She takes the lead by 2200s. That's astonishing. 59.32. Her first heat, 59.30. And it's that consistency that will put Tina Hermann likely in the medals. There are still 4 sleds to come. But that is a good run from Tina Hermann. That's a really good run for Tina Hermann. Look at that, over the brow, 14 to 15, tiny little toe to steer herself. 3rd in Sigulda, 2nd in Winterberg. She's not going to continue that progression with a win here, surely, but she leads now with 4 sleds to go. Four to go. A German will lead at the end of this run. Either Tina Hermann, who leads now, or Sophia Griebel, who stands on the starting block. Griebel, 0.03 of a second ahead of teammate Tina Hermann in snowy conditions in the first heat. She started 5.73 in the first heat, 5.64 in the second. She's already added 1/10 of a second to her advantage over Tina Hermann. But Hermann mines for gold low down this track, not high up. Big toe steer onto corner 4 for Sophia Griebel. Nice, quiet run so far. 1400's the advantage. Great exit out of Tudai, down to the Kreisel. Tiny rub on the entrance. Nice, even waves. Great stuff from Sophia Griebel. Is she steering too much? Yes, 1400's now becomes 600's. The speed is not quite what Tina Hermann had. She's in the red. Hermann is going to lead at the end of this one. 1:12.1, not enough. She's a mile an hour slower than Tina Hermann. She'll lose 1, maybe 2 places. Just 1 spot, 59.52. But that was 2/10 slower on that run alone than her teammate, and she only had 300s in hand from the first heat. Good to see Sophia Griebel returning to form, though, after a patchy season last year where she only made 2 World Cup starts and then was replaced in the team by Anna Fernstedt, going back down to the Intercontinental Cup, the 2nd tier of sliding. Take a look in the Kreisel, doesn't disappear from sight, doesn't spear up to the roof, but all of that steering, all of that control means that she's cutting ice, not running quite as freely. Chin right down, eyes staring at the ice as she came over the brow, 14 into 15, looking for the aerodynamics. There's Tina Hermann being interviewed by Ron Ringuth for the crowd here. And Sophia Griebel saying hi to boyfriend back home. Germany 1-2 ahead of Austria, and 3 sleds to go. German clean sweep of the podium here last year. Last time there was Russians on the podium was 2014-15, when Elena Nikitina was 3rd and Maria Orlova claimed her only ever World Cup win. 3rd after the first heat here in Altenberg, Germany, Yulia Kanakina of Russia. Off the 4th fastest start, the former ballet dancer put in a fantastic run. Clear conditions for the 22-year-old, the 2017 Junior World Champion in Williams Skeleton. But there are clear conditions again. There is snow in the track from the earlier fall, but she's got clear air in front of her. 5:46. This is for a medal. She was 3rd after the first heat, 7th in Sigulda, 8th in Winterberg. This will be her first World Cup medal of the season if she can hang on now. Didn't race here last year. She was away at the Junior Worlds. Little toe steer, half a second up on Tina Hermann from 4/10 at the start, but it's from here on down that she could be in trouble. Still half a second up, but the gap is dropping. 0.6 of a mile an hour down. Gap's down to 4/10. Has she got enough? She should have. 1:11.9, not what Hermann had, but there's not enough track left to lose it all. 2300's up, 59.20. Guarantees herself the first medal of the season, Yulia Kanakina. Well, Russia went 1-3 here 4 seasons ago, and she will be no worse than third. We could yet have potentially a Russian 1-2. It's unlikely that Jacqueline Lurling will give it away, but we should have 2 Russians on the podium. Good looking exit there, a fraction late, but she'll take that. Julia Kanakina springs away up to the finish area. She's the race leader with 2 to go. 2 remaining sliders here in Altenberg are the first 2 race winners of the season. Jacqueline Lurling, last time out in Winterberg, and following her will be Elena Nikitina of Russia, who won the season opener in Sigulda. Lurling on for a hat-trick here. She's won the last 2 World Cup outings in Altenberg. Can she make it 3? The gap first to second was 15 hundredths. And as she lies down, she's only 7 hundredths in front of Julia Kanakina. A 5.84 start, 3 hundredths quicker than her first heat, but she gives away half a second at the start to the race leader. Lurling now, 9 hundredths in the red, but surely by the time she gets to the Kreisel, she'll be back in the green. Good exit here, nice clear track, 100th up. 109.7, sensational speed from Jacqueline Lurling, no one quicker. 1600s up, Julia Kanakina is not going to win today, but is Jacqueline Lurling going to make it a hat-trick of wins here in Altenberg? 3600s up, 71.3 miles an hour, a mile an hour faster than anybody else. Spears down across the line, 59.05. Not as quick as her first heat. Is it enough for gold? It's at least enough for silver. Jacqueline Lurling has won the last 2 races here. What did that little body gesture tell us? Happy, not happy? Relatively happy, I think, for Jacka. Let's take a look at the exit here. This is out of Tudai on the run down to the Kreisel. Thinks about a tap dance, doesn't go for it. Exit of 14, over the brow, barely breaks away from straight ahead. Class act from Jacqueline Lurling, who leads with 1 to go. We are not going to have a new race winner this season here in Altenberg, because Jacqueline Lurling, the leader, and Elena Nikitina have both won already in the 18-19 season. First ever win came in Sigulda, the season opener. Could this be her second ever win? 5:31 new start record. It had to come. She was only 200s inside it in the first heat. 200s outside it in the first heat, rather. 200s inside it in the second heat. Now, she doesn't need a track record to win this. 9,700s up on Jacqueline Lurling. What an advantage, and look at Nikitina, straight down the track into the Kreisel. Take a look at the exit, lands it neatly. She's on her way to victory, 3/4 of a second up. 14, 15, that's as good as you like. 6/10 up, good speed, not great, but enough. Elena Nikitina is going to win here in Altenberg, victorious for the second time in her life. 58.83, the second World Cup win for Elena Nikitina. She posted the fastest run in the first heat, the fastest run in the second heat. 2,200s quicker than Jacqueline Lurling, just on that run alone. Big sigh of relief from our World Cup points leader. She will head to the European Championships next week in Koenigsegg with a bigger points lead and 2 wins out of 3 starts this season. Elena Nikitina of Russia leads a Russian 1-3, just as Maria Oliver did here 4 years ago when Nikitina took the bronze. Congratulations offered from Jacqueline Lurling to Elena Nikitina and Yulia Kanakina, a bronze medal for Russia. There is Tina Hermann in 4th place, offering her congratulations. Well, what a start. Her start record dates back to November 2015, the Junior Worlds here, 5:33. She blitzed it with a 5:31 and drove away from Jacqueline Lurling until way down the track, when Lurling's height and mass and knowledge of this track came into play. But nevertheless, the gap was 6,800s at the top of this run, 3,700s at the bottom. She outdrove Jacqueline Lurling and outstarted her on both heats. Lurling silver, Kanakina bronze, but it is the second win of her career and of the season for Elena Nikitina of Russia. Well, there are the rest of our finishers in what has been quite a snow-affected race here in Altenberg in Saxony. This year's World Championships in March will be in the Canadian resort of Whistler at the 2010 Winter Olympic track. And in 2020, 12 years after the last World Championships here, will return at the end of next season for the Bobsleigh and Skeleton World Championships in Altenberg. It's always a driver's track, always has been, always will be. It was designed so that if you could drive here, you could drive anywhere, and it's still the case. Well, come snow, rain or shine, that doesn't deter or doesn't change the challenge of this track. But you can see they're sweeping there how much snow does fall in, despite a lot of the overhangs on the corners and some of the covers and the shades. And so in a winter sport, occasionally you do get winter weather. And the forecast, I'm afraid, for the men's race this afternoon is fairly similar. Jacqueline Lurling of Germany, the silver medalist here, receiving lots of congratulations. And there is the lopsided grin on the helmet of Elena Nikitina of Russia. 3 races this season, 2 wins already. And there's Yulia, her teammate, gold and bronze for Russia. And the 3rd Russian slider, Renata Kutsina, finishing in 10th place. So all 3 in the top 10. And Germany also with 3 athletes in the top 10. The snow continues to fall here in Altenberg in Saxony. And the men will be on the ice here later this afternoon. 1400 local, 1300 Greenwich Mean Time for the start of our broadcast. Snowy Altenberg in Germany, race 3 of the Women's Skeleton World Cup. And Elena Nikitina, with her 2nd win, eases further ahead in the World Cup rankings. Jacqueline Lurling moves ahead of Tina Hermann, their 2nd and 3rd giving chase. And there are the rest of the points down the order after 3 of our 8 World Cup races, which will then be followed by the World Championships in Whistler. Well, it was an exemplary performance with a start record in the 2nd heat and nearly a start record in the 1st from Elena Nikitina, the Russian rocketess, if there is such a thing. Fastest in the 1st heat and fastest again in the 2nd heat, breaking Jacqueline Lurling's streak of wins here. Lurling winning the last 2, but denied a hat-trick by the Russian. Only the 2nd ever women's skeleton race win here for a Russian slider. Then Nikitina was in 3rd behind Maria Oliver. This time she wins with Yulia Kanakina in 3rd. 2nd place between the 2 for Jacqueline Lurling. 4 years ago it was Lizzie Arnold who split the Russians. But today victory goes for the 2nd time this season and in her career to Russia's Elena Nikitina. That's it for Women's Skeleton Race 3. Men will be on the ice, 1400 local time, 1300 Greenwich Mean Time. Join us, please, until then. From me, Martin Haven, and the rest of the IBSF TV crew from Altenberg in Germany, it's Auf Wiedersehen. We'll see you this afternoon.